My name's Ross Lippman. In my previous life, I was a squadron disaster preparedness officer in a recon group, which didn't do too much. And then I became a wing project officer, which basically wrote exercises. As a matter of fact, our wing, 6th Strat Wing in Alaska, did the very first terrorist exercise in the United States. It was very interesting. So with that, I went into emergency management when I got out, and I was the Denton County and the City of Denton Emergency Management Coordinator. And I retired from that and thought I wanted to get an education. Well, I won't tell you, don't go into education. It's not the kids, it's the structure and it's the principles. Everybody wants to tell you how to do the job you went to college for 6 years to do. So anyway, with that, I'm going to approach this whole thing as an emergency management coordinator, not as an amateur radio operator, though I am one. I'm a general class operator, K8 to BPZ. So Z, BPZ, I always say Z because otherwise you have to say it's C or something. Okay, we're going to go over this with, this is not the ARRL briefing. I condensed 75 pages of sheer boredom to 5 pages of sleepy material. So we're going to talk about what ARES is and what the difference between ARES, which sounds like a Greek war god, and RACES, which sounds like the Indianapolis 200. I think they went to 500. Anyway, we're going to talk about, I'm going to briefly discuss how it works. Can you go back one, please? Thank you. Thank you. And then talk about its structure, which will be real quick, how it's organized from the top to the bottom, because when you have to use it, you just go backwards. And that's how it works, the operation. Okay, next slide. Thank you.
Next slide.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Oh my God.
Okay, amateur radio emergency service is a supplemental radio service. It's not meant to take the place of police, fire, and other emergency services. Mostly it operates with voluntary organizations active in disasters. You've probably heard of that, VOAD. And also with city government when needed. It works at any level, right down from the neighborhood to, gosh knows, FEMA. Okay, we know that 4-letter word, right? Okay, it's different from RACES. I think I have the other slide, please. The difference between ARES and RACES, the Radio Amateur Civil Emergency Services, is that RACES isn't a group. It's usually an appointed officer for a governmental jurisdiction, talking basically government to government. They only appear after the fact, and they leave before it ends. But they're the sources that get us the federal sources. These operators have to be general class or above to operate the frequencies that are required by FEMA and other governments. They do not talk to the Red Cross unless they have permission of that government agency which they work for to do so. Hey boss, they need some information for Red Cross, can I get it? You may go get it. Hi, how many people are out there, whatever they need. That's it. He can't do anything else. He now has to send that information to whoever asked for it. And that's the extent of his job. Now, ARES can do the same job, but he doesn't have to ask permission. You can save 5 minutes with saying, okay, I need this information. Red Cross, what do you got? Sends that information. Gets the same job done. Has almost the same security requirements. You have to have a background check to get into both of these. RACES is a little tighter background check. You can't have any ring of milk on your lips when you drink your milk. You have to be able to wipe that clean. It's that tight. Okay, so that's the difference between the two. RACES was set up during the Cold War, And it works very well with government-to-government situations. Okay, next slide. The structure. How does it work? Well, in the beginning, you know that one, right? That's way at the top, an ARRL, a guy from Radio Sports in section, and a guy from, oh, sorry, I have to lose that. Field Services, manager of Field Services, appoints the guy who's in charge at the top, and he has an assistant called an emergency preparedness officer. This top governs an United States area of 19 sections. The section manager is elected. In that section, you have two sections under that. Those are divisions. You have two sections under that for Texas. We're under North Texas. Although it's the low end of North Texas, it's still North Texas. There are 9 divisions divisions in North Texas. We're in Division 6, or District 6. That person is appointed by the emergency coordinator of North Texas under the West Gulf Coast Division. So that's what we have. We're in Belton County, and we have an EC appointed by the district coordinator too. Anything other than that, as far as coordinators go, are appointed by the Bell County coordinator. Any jurisdiction which is a legal entity, such as the Red Cross, a church organization, in the state of Texas, colleges are considered a jurisdiction, so are public schools. All of these people may have an emergency coordinator. Now, let's go to the next slide. That takes you all the way from the top to the bottom. It works differently and much faster. When something happens, what's the first thing you guys do?
Call for help.
You take care of yourselves, right? And then what? Your neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
And your friends, relatives. Then you don your CERT hat or your FRS hat or GMRS hat, right? And you wait until somebody calls you. ARES does the same thing. They monitor the situation. They'll be listening to their ham radios at home or handy talkies or whatever, just like you will, so they know what's going on. They won't be talking about it. They'll just be doing that. When the emergency happens, they're called, and they may go to the incident command system. They may have to go to a shelter to help. You may be called out to help triage if it's that bad. And that's all there is to it. You wait and you go where you're called. You may quickly graduate to 2 or 3 members if an emergency operations center is opened. And then a 4th one will come along very quickly after that. So it depends on the size of the emergency and how many people you have. Now, we have agreements with Bell County, with Copperas Cove, and with other places. We can borrow amateur radio operators if we need them, if they're ARES trained. No problem, as long as they don't have problems. I know 4 guys in this county, in this city, 5 guys that live in this city, and they have a problem with, in their house, or one of them gets killed, or breaks a leg, that leaves us 4, right? So we have a shortage of ARES operators. So when you guys reach 18, apply, okay? And pass your tests. Now, what I want to go to do now is say that when things get out of the city, what happens next? We call help from the Red Cross from the county, right? We may have to ask for a RACES operator from the county. The county may have to have one replaced by the state. All these require networks to be set up. And this data for additional resources and people is set up by the amateur radio community if they need it. This is supplementary communications. Hopefully we don't need it because they have a fantastic radio system for fire and police here. But there may be situations where a tower goes down or there's a problem in Dalton County that may not be related to this county in which our infrastructure starts to falter in the radio system. But basically, it's a supplemental system. Now, I have one more slide, and that's how you guys come into this picture. The FCC, the federal government, and their ultimate wisdom. I say that with a smile. I have some friends in the FCC, so I know they're not completely gone. But like most government entities, they have a lot of smarts individually. But when you get a bunch of smart people together as a committee, you sometimes have a very smart idiot. They don't always agree on things, and you know how the camel is related. There's a horse built by committee, right? Okay. Well, in their ultimate decisions, because people don't do their job all around the world, the federal government says an amateur radio operator licensed by the ARRL and the FCC cannot operate a GMRS radio from the same radio. I can monitor yours on my little handheld, but I can't talk to you. I'm not allowed to. I'll be breaking the law. But if I had a radio that's separate from that, yes, I can talk to you. So I don't need a license for the half watt. With the GMRS, I have to have a license. And you see on this chart, some radios are reduced to a half watt to talk from 8 to 14 channels, yes. That's straight off the ARRL.
Bring up the license for GMRS. Most of our family
Right.
have the license.
Oh, that's great.
For the house, it's not for.
That's only $70 for
Motel.
10 years, right? Yeah. And I could do the same thing. I could go spend my $10 and buy a $30 or $40 radio, and there'd be no problem with that. Right now, I don't have it, but it doesn't mean I can't. And it doesn't mean that they couldn't send somebody, I have to be an adult probably, to go to where I am to transmit data face to face, right? But that's the only problem. It's not so much with the radios and the licensing, it's the people of the licensing, it's the radio. It's a radio problem. You can't operate one licensed band to a separately licensed band in the FCC. That's all there is to it. So, any questions on that? Now, from an emergency management coordinator standpoint, I think GMRS and FRS is the way to go because everybody can have it. You're taking care of a very small community. So if everybody, say you have 11 communities in your small town, you have 11 communities taking care of each other. That leaves valuable resources for those that you already know need help, right? Because you guys are all, and gals are all good at what you do. And my hat's off to you, particularly the CERT people. That's my view from amateur radio, from the emergency management coordinator's point of view. It's my view, it's not Mr. Perez, who's the emergency management coordinator. I don't know what his view is of GMRS. We talked about it, and I think he's kind of pro GMRS, but when we speak, it's like we're passing the hallways. He's going to right now he's in Maryland on a training trip to get trained, so he knows more. But that's about it. Any question?
One comment.
Sure.
Again, on the GMRS, a lot of people say it's licensed and it scares them off. But
No.
it's licensed in name only. Anybody can get on, you pay $70, it's good for 10 years. Everybody in your house can use that radio, grandparents, children, and
That's
so on.
right.
So, plus, it's level 2 in this system. As far as down here, family radio, level 2, is what we're covering. Plus, on channel 20 and above, can be used with repeaters, which means that you can extend the range quite a little bit, by at least double the range of the radio. And we have a repeater, used to have one in Cove, and he's gonna put it up again probably this week. So there's a repeater in Cove for GMRS, there's another one in Killeen. So theoretically, that means we could talk from here to Cove, or Cove back to here. Whereas with the radio, you can't go that far. So channel 20 and above is repeater compatible.
And I've seen GMRS linked all the way to Michigan
Right.
within 15, 20 seconds with hardly any delay in feedback.
Dallas has
It's
a
wonderful, wonderful radio
The whole
system.
Dallas is covered by GMRS radios.
Yeah. I really recommend, when I get more money in my retirement, I'm going to probably go up to FRS and to GMRS. So I can monitor two channels at the same time. I don't know if they have that capability. I'll have to look into it. Okay.
Standpoint of the drones that we're working on, Alex has already done it. We're using drones to raise the level of the radio, okay? So an antenna, you brought up when the cell towers are down, we can take an antenna or the repeater radio that he has and raise it up 400 feet. Well, it's hardly any tower radio people have that can go that high.
That's right.
But the repeater he had, or repeater we have, which is a repeater, but it's just a little radio, which means it can take your signal, put it out to somebody else. We can raise that up. We've done it to 20 foot already, but by law, we can take it up to 400 foot. So with the drones, you can add to the range of a radio from, what am I saying, unbelievably extended. 400 feet, normally 7 feet to 7 feet, or height above, your height above the ground, with the curvature will get you anywhere from 7 to 14 miles. So that's about all you can get on any handheld that you're walking around with. That's why you need a repeater to get over the curvature of the earth.
Amateur radio is limited to a tower going to the bottom of your antenna to 20 feet. The city of Killeen limits your antenna height, the total height of your antenna, to 35 feet.
To what, 35?
Unless you're at the airport